Hey guys, it's the Captain here from Andertons TV. I am joined by the beautiful Danish Pete.
Hello.
And the wonderful Jeff. I don't know his surname, Jeffson. And we are going to talk about 3 new products from Boss that are being launched at the NAMM show. And the first one, and probably the best kept secret, is the GT-1000. So Jeff, I shall hand over you for a minute, so you can just tell us like the main things about it.
Okay, there's lots of main things, but a couple things that are going to stand out right off the bat is you'll see this word AIRD on the front of it, which stands for AIRD. AIR is an acronym for Augmented Impulse Response Dynamics, right? Now, we've all been using impulse responses and talking about this for a long time, but the D is really the key word here. We love the D. Right?
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, thanks. Right? I set it up, you knocked it down,
yeah,
right? The D stands for dynamics, and the dynamics are the big thing. We're all guitar players, right? We all are, people think of, who are non-guitar players, think of guitar players' amplifiers as just a delivery system, just a box like a PA, but it's really an integral system of our relationship with our instrument as we play. And what's happened over the years is we've gotten into a lot of different direct scenarios and a lot of stuff like that, but there's this key thing that happens in tube amplifiers, which is a little bit weird for people to understand, which is that the speaker isn't just an EQ you're sending sound through. The speaker, you move it moves back and throws voltage back up in the amplifier. That changes the transformer distortion, it changes the interaction of things, and so, it's like, the input preamp section in Tube Logic, which we've done with Katana amplifiers and things like that, worked really good between the power amp and the preamp, and we had a physical amplifier so we could deal with the dynamics portion of it. But now when we wanted to go to a direct system, we wanted to add that back. So we're getting all the integral impedance and dynamics of the power amp and the speaker going back and forth in the way they interact so that you can interact better. Okay, cool.
So is this an upgraded GT-100 or is this just like new?
It's new from the ground up.
Because I guess do you mind if I get a little, awkward about questions with this?
Okay.
It's way more expensive than I thought it was going to be, and it needs to be a Helix beta. Yeah. So is it a Helix beta?
Well, it's doing a lot of different things that are in the Helix, right? First off, it's a 32-bit A to D, D to A, 96 kilohertz. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it's got this AIR technology and a new chip that we put inside of the device, right? So, thirdly, are you familiar with the 500 series Boss pedals, the DD500, RV500, and the MD500? It's got those algorithms in it. I mean, just that alone, if you were to go out and buy an MD and you're like what, $1,000, $1,200, whatever. I can't do math in front of
it is about
that's
that.
okay.
Yeah. I mean that's a good way of justifying the price, is to sort of say if you wanted the RV500, well the 3 500 series models, that would cost you more than buying one of these. I still kind of historically I didn't really like the COSM technology I didn't think it was the most authentic amp modeling, and that was why I was kind of hoping that you were going to say this isn't just COSM Mark II.
No, because I'm sure you guys have played with the Katana amplifiers, right? And the way that Tube Logic feels, and they've been a tremendous success for the past year or and a half that they've been out, and that comes from a technology called Tube Logic, which we started out originally in the Waza Head, which is a big touring class head amplifier, and then we turned that into the Blues Cube amplifiers, and then we took that one more step and we brought it down into Katana, and so that amp technology has been very different. In its core, COSM is just a like, how do you do the math, and it's like a study, right? And so there's always elements going to be in it, no matter what we do, right? There's going to be some form of composite, but those are early versions, and things grow and get a bit bigger and stuff like that. But this is really looking at because in earlier modelers, a lot of them, they only had like one tube stage and stuff like that in them, and the dynamics and stuff were really weird and harsh and in that kind of realm. When we did Tube Logic, we really got the combination. COSM kind of dealt with like low voltage, like how did you do a basement treble, right? Mm-hmm. And Tube Logic really dealt with the high voltage. How do I get the power amp sag? So like when I hit a chord, the way it hits the power tube first, because most people don't realize that the last tube is the first tube to clip, right? So we always talk with pedals like hitting the front end. You're actually hitting the back end first, not the front end. And when that back end hits, it pulls down the B plus voltage because it asks for power from the power caps, and they drain it out, and that comes down. Well, so even the best modelers today, up to date, have only kind of gotten that ish right, and then they're now doing something like the impulses, which are very common.
Yeah.
But impulses, as they stand, like if I capture an impulse, that data is all in the stored piece of information. But as soon as I use something to run through it, it's something called convolution. Convolution is a math program that you do, and it will lose all harmonics, right? And what you're only left with is basically a high-end EQ, a little bit of phase over time, and some resonance, right?
Yeah.
But it does nothing for what goes back into the amplifier. So this guy, it's going to have that feeling, that tube power speaker moving back.
Okay, so someone's done the maths and the science. I picture this enormous blackboard with a really complicated formula on it, and that's in here. But the proof's in the pudding. So, as they say, or we say, do you say the proof's in the pudding?
I think that works.
Yeah, okay, the proof's in the pudding. I.e., let's hear like 2 or 3 amp tones.
Yeah, let me kind of chunk on it, because one of the things that I'm going to get as a player, I'll feel more of it than obviously the audience on the other side of it. So, but let me do my best to try and transfer through the screen a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just so you guys know, we're hearing it through a wedge, I think, in here, like a PA cabinet, which is never my favourite way to hear this kind of stuff. You're hearing the DI straight into the camera, so actually I think you're probably hearing maybe something slightly more authentic than what we're hearing. But anyway.
Low volume, it wants to feed back, right?
That's pretty good.
Like what happens with a lot of modelers is if you try to get them to feed back, they'll either grab the wrong harmonic or they just die, right? Even at this lowish volume, it wants to another little sound. Let's see. Something a little. I want something cleanish.
That's what I was gonna ask for.
Forgot my lick.
If I wanted to use the GT-1000 with an amp, but even with a Katana Artist or something, but with an amp with an effects loop, can I use the 4-cable method here so that I can assign certain effects to go in the front end of the amp and certain effects to go through the effects loop?
How about a 7-cable method?
The 7? I've never even heard of a 7-cable method.
That sounds like a good night out.
You can do 2 amps simultaneously, right? In stereo, right?
Yeah.
Inside of this, it runs 2 amps simultaneously and a whole boatload of effects, 500 in series, stuff like that. But you have the 2 outputs on it. You have XLR and you have quarter-inch. The quarter-inch can go right to the amplifier. The XLR can go to the house. You could send, either 4-cable method or 7-cable method in this case. And here's something that's really important about that. There's an output selection here for the different grounding options, right? Because what people don't really realize when they try and tour and stuff like that, when they take out, a box like this, is they start doing 7-cable method and they start running incident and ground problems and that high pitch thing that'll happen, right? Typically, you'll see these, nice boards and you'll see an isolation transformer next to them, right? Because that's the only way you can kind of break it on stage. This has got an output section, so you can go through and choose through 9 different settings. You can hear relays switching inside of it, making it so that it's actually all in one. So it's got everything all in there, and also for stage. Notice this big bright display here.
Yeah.
Everything is editable from this display, and you can get in all kinds of detail here with right now I've got that parallel path, which I'm not really using. I can put parallel paths in parallel paths, right? And I have 4 parallel paths that I can work with. So it's not going to be good for your camera, but like if I want to take this guy down here, scroll over, like if look over here.
Yeah.
You're a parallel path inside of a parallel path.
I mean, you're not seeing this, but this is a pretty familiar looking way of editing on effects units now, where you see the signal chain and you see little graphical amps and effects blocks and things like that. Is there a USB editor as well to make it even easier to do?
How about Bluetooth?
A Bluetooth editor.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So now
That's a step.
So
Look at that.
That's
I've perked up a bit here.
You perked up.
Wow.
Right. He was a little. He was
yeah.
to give you a jab, wake you up. I know it's early.
None of the other ones have got Bluetooth.
I don't think they have.
No. So one of the things we tried to make the unit a lot smaller. It's smaller than the GT-100 is today, right? You notice that it's all low profile like this, which is kind of how we came up with the system we're doing here. The knobs are all metal shafts, so if you kick them, you're not going to break them, right? It can be a problem.
Yeah.
And we've come up with these new low profile buttons. If it wasn't small enough for you already, if that's too much to take on the plane with you for that flyaway gig, right? Just take your phone, have them show up with the GT-1000, hit a button, and you're up and going.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
That's
look,
cool. That's cool.
we will definitely, if we could just grab like is there something like a Fender Deluxe or something, a cleaner kind of amp model set up with maybe a bit of reverb, and Pete can just do a little bit of playing. We'll get, as soon as we can, we'll get one of these in the store and do a more fully sort of featured demo on it. It's fairly safe to say anybody thinking about a GT-1000, you can take it for granted that all the effects, the modulation, ambient effects, even some of the more crazy effects are going to be up there with the best.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly all that 500 series stuff is very comparable with all the Strymon stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess the amp modeling on this, everybody's got their own favourite, sounds and their own opinions on whether or not, how close these things will come. It's definitely a big improvement on GT-100 from what I've heard in here. It's always good to hear Pete play with some of the cleaner sounds just to see if we can, see how authentic they are. But yeah, it's a great looking unit.
Yeah.
I'm loving the Bluetooth editor because I do.
That's great. That's a good feature, because that's what you're missing on on Kemper and Helix and all of them.
Yeah.
They all need Bluetooth. They all need to have an editor where you can just go from, and then that's it.
Cool.
Instead of a USB port or whatever.
Well, look, we'll finish up this little demo with a bit of Pete playing, and if you stay tuned, we'll probably talk about Katana Air and Katana Artist shortly afterwards. Anyway, take it away, Pete.
I'm just gonna have a little try here. Let's see what happens.
That's nice.
Take the delay off.
Sag up
Yeah.
a little bit, like, there we go. So it should have got a little stiffer. Now to get a little bit more tight. Get a little extra gain. So hopefully with all the noise and everything and the small speaker, you can still feel the difference.
You can feel it. It feels. There's no lag. There's none of that stuff. So, but you would expect that by now, 2018, of modular things. You know what I mean? Even when you're up there, that price, it just feels nice. I mean, I need to definitely go and have a proper play where it's quiet. Hook it up to
Right, and we'll get you guys a unit soon, and then you'll be able to check it out.
Absolutely,
We're about 3 months away from shopping. Right?
Okay.
You can't do this. You have to one at a time.
You can't hear anything.
So there we go. Anyway.
Yeah, it's good.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to get it in.
Thank you for watching Andertons TV, and we shall see you in the next video soon. Jazz chord.